The party's at its peak. Music's right, drinks are flowing, and everyone around you is loose, laughing, fully present in the room. That's the room everyone else is standing in. Now here's the room you're actually standing in. Same music, same four walls, same people. Except you're saying all the right things, laughing on cue, technically part of the conversation, and somewhere underneath it, you feel more alone than you've ever felt walking down an empty street at 2 in the morning. You could point to the exact moment it happens, too, the second your smile turns into muscle memory, running on its own without you actually in the driver's seat. And this is the part that should stop you. Your brain might actually be processing that exact same room differently than everyone else's is. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why, and once you do, you will never feel guilty about it again. None of that makes you ungrateful or antisocial or broken. It makes you accurately wired. It's something psychologists have quietly mapped for over 40 years, and almost nobody talks about it out loud. Let's start with the thing nobody says. Loneliness has almost nothing to do with how many people are in the room. Your brain is after something more specific than company. Researchers call it being met. Being met means someone in that room can see the version of you underneath the version you're performing. When that's not happening, it doesn't matter if there are 3 people in the room or 300. Your nervous system reads the rooms as empty anyway. But here's where it gets interesting. There's a researcher named John Cacioppo, one of the founders of what's now called social neuroscience, who spent decades proving something almost nobody wanted to hear. Loneliness has very little to do with being alone. It comes down to the gap between the connection you have and the connection you actually need. Put 2 people in the exact same room, and one feels alive while the other feels invisible. Same room. Different nervous systems, different unmet hungers. Here's something that sounds contradictory. The people who feel this the hardest are usually the ones who feel everything the hardest. High empathy, high emotional attunement. The kind of person who walks into a room and, within 30 seconds, can read exactly how everyone in it is feeling, whether they meant to show it or not. That radar is a gift. It's also exhausting, because when you can sense the emotional temperature of an entire room, you also notice, instantly, the second nobody in that room is reading yours. And here's the kicker. Researchers at the University of Chicago put that theory under a microscope, literally, recording the brain activity of people who describe themselves as chronically lonely. What they found was almost eerie. Lonely brains identify social threat, a stranger's cold expression, a joke that might be at their expense, in less than half the time that non-lonely brains do. Not sadness, not anxiety. Threat detection. Your brain is scanning the room for rejection before rejection ever gets the chance to happen. That scanning is exhausting, which is exactly why you can leave a perfectly nice dinner and feel like you just finished a warehouse shift. Nothing bad happened. Your nervous system just worked overtime for 3 hours anyway, doing precisely the job it was trained to do in a room that never actually threatened you. But there's another layer, and it's the one that makes this so exhausting to actually live with. It's not just that your brain is scanning for threat in the background. You're also working a second, invisible job at the same time, managing your face, timing your laugh, tracking whether you've asked enough questions about somebody else's weekend. 2 full-time jobs running in the same 3-hour window, and only one of them is visible to anyone else in the room. Okay, let's pause. I want to be honest about something, because this is where it gets personal. This isn't something people are born with. It starts from somewhere specific, and it usually starts young. Somewhere along the way, a version of you learned that being fully seen wasn't safe. Maybe your emotions inconvenienced someone in that house. Maybe love was quiet, and effort had to be loud to count. Maybe you were the kid who took care of everyone else, and nobody thought to ask who was taking care of you. Maybe you were simply the sensitive one in a house that ran on efficiency instead of feeling, and sensitivity in that house felt like an inconvenience nobody had time for. So you learned a very quiet skill. You learned how to stand in a room without actually arriving in it, how to smile with the top half of your face and disappear with the bottom half. Call it what it actually is, a coping skill wearing a hostess's smile. And it doesn't switch off just because you're now an adult holding a drink you don't want. It comes with you, into every room, for the rest of your life until you notice it. Feeling lonely in a full room is not a character flaw. It's a very specific piece of emotional intelligence pointing at a very specific unmet need. Most people are genuinely fine with pleasant surface, so you sit there and quietly assume you're the broken one because everyone else looks fine. They're not fine, and you're not broken. Their thermostat just runs at a different temperature. Now, before the comment section explodes, let me say the part that actually matters. There are two very different kinds of people who feel this, and figuring out which one you are changes everything about how you handle it. The first kind is carrying an old wound. For this person, loneliness in a full room is an echo. It's the childhood dinner table showing up at the adult dinner table, the feeling of not being chosen, wearing a grown-up outfit. It follows the same rhythm every time. The room fills up and you feel yourself get further away. If that rhythm sounds familiar, it isn't your fault and it isn't your forever. It was installed in you, which means it can also be gently uninstalled. But then there's the other kind. And this is the one worth talking about because almost nobody does. For this person, loneliness in a full room isn't a wound at all. It's a compass. It's your inner world telling you politely that surface conversation costs you more than it gives back, and that you're wired for depth, not because you're superior, not because small talk is beneath you. Your nervous system converts deep connection into fuel and small talk into static, and frankly, no amount of gratitude for the party is going to change that math. You can love the people in that room and still feel starved by the conversation. Both things are true at once. Think of it like this. You're a radio that only plays clearly on one very specific frequency. Everyone around you is broadcasting on a slightly different band. Pleasant enough, nothing wrong with it, but nothing fully tunes in. So you stand there, technically at the party, quietly scanning for one clear signal. And when you finally meet someone who broadcasts on your frequency, sometimes years later, sometimes for one evening, you don't just enjoy them. You come alive. Because that's what your nervous system was built for, not more people. The right frequency. You might be sitting here right now realizing you're one of these people, and you've never had words for it before. So hear this once, without a caveat. The loneliness you feel in full rooms is not proof that something is wrong with you. It's proof that you're still, after everything, holding out for something real. Most people stopped holding out a long time ago. You didn't. That's not a curse. That's a very quiet kind of courage. So tell me honestly in the comments, are you the first kind carrying an old echo or the second kind built for a frequency most rooms don't play? Either way, you are not the only person in that room who feels it. You were just the only one who thought you were. If any part of this described the last wedding, work event, or family dinner you sat through, you already know which one you are, even if you've never said it out loud until right now. And if this is the first video of mine you've watched, subscribing costs you nothing, and it tells this channel to keep making more like it.